Welcome to the fourth lecture of the historical background of the New Testament. This time we will be talking about Judaism and paganism. You have, at the beginning of the PowerPoints here, you have two pictures, one of a model of the temple in Jerusalem representing Judaism, and the other one is a picture of the Acropolis of Athens, one of the classic sites of paganism. I should, I suppose, define my terms. Paganism, Judaism I think would be fairly straightforward, but paganism is sort of an umbrella term that we use to describe all religions in the Roman Empire. Sometimes they're monotheistic, sometimes they're polytheistic, sometimes they believe in two gods. Those religions that are not Jewish, that are not Christian. That's what we mean when we say paganism. So it's sort of a clumping term. The paganism in the Roman Empire was primarily polytheism. That is, the worship of many gods. In the central Roman version, there were many different versions in the Roman Empire, but the main religions of the state had focused on a pantheon of gods with Jupiter at the head. He was the supreme god. He was called Zeus in Greek, Jupiter in Latin. We also have Venus, Diana, and other gods. The chief priest of this Roman state religion was the Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest of the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus in Rome. Traditional Roman polytheism, the worship focused on festivals and temples. The Romans had many festivals that went on during the year, festivals such as the Compitalia, the Saturnalia. You'll be familiar with the Olympic festivals, for example. These were gatherings of worship for particular deities. And then there were temples, holy places in the Roman Empire dedicated to individual gods and sometimes even to multiple gods. And these temples dot the landscape of the Roman Empire. The Roman religious texts, if you will, for pagan polytheism focus mainly on what are, as a group, called the poets. And the big ones are Homer, for example, the Iliad and the Odyssey. Homer wrote in Greek, but by the time of the New Testament, Homer had been translated into Latin and was very popular around the Roman Empire. In addition, you have Virgil and his great epic text, the Aeneid. And you have all the traditional tales told by Livy in his great work, The History of Rome. Not only do we have pagan polytheism, but we also have pagan mystery religions. Mystery religions have in common the idea that a person can have a personal relationship with a specific god or gods. You undergo mystery rituals that make you part of this mystery religion, make you connected to that God. That God will give you a positive afterlife. That God looks out for your interests. And by joining that mystery religion, you become part of a community of believers. The most famous mystery religions were the mysteries of Isis, the mysteries of Osiris, Cybele and Attis. Often these gods work in pairs, if you will, in their mystery religions. These were very common and becoming very popular in the Roman Empire about the time of Jesus. And of course, Paul refers to Christianity at one point as the mysteries of Christ. There's an important connection because, of course, there are characteristics of a mystery religion that are in common with Christianity, and that makes Paul's making an important connection there with the traditions that are around. Then we have the imperial cult. The imperial cult was a worship of the emperor. It's pretty well known that Roman emperors, usually, when they died, the Senate voted and called them a deity, and those Roman emperors would be worshipped in temples in their honor. The Romans knew that this was if you will, a sort of portable religion, and one that was transient because you have new emperors being deified every few years. And so the result is you will see in many imperial cult temples around the empire, you will see very regal looking Roman statues with armor and very dignified looking bodies with no head. And the idea was there was a slot for a head, and you could simply put the head of one emperor on there and worship that guy for a while, and then pull the head off and put another head on, and that's why the Romans became great masters of the portrait bust. They would have these faces of different emperors, and that could be changeable. So the imperial cult remained the same. One would sacrifice to the genius of Rome, but in the person of the emperor. Also, imperial cult sometimes was applied to the wives of emperors. They also could be worshipped. You see on this particular slide a classic, actually Athenian bronze sculpture of Zeus, who would be Jupiter in Latin. And we also see an imperial cult temple, this one at the site of Pergamum. Not only do we have traditional pagan polytheism and mystery religions and imperial cult, we also in the Roman world have the development of a lot of what we call Hellenistic philosophies, which are trying to help the people of the Roman Empire find what they called ataraxia, peace of mind. The three new Hellenistic philosophies that got their start after the death of Alexander the Great are Stoicism, Epicureanism, and Cynicism. I will not spend any time on these, but a very quick definition of each. Stoicism is the belief that everything that happens must happen. Everything is fated. The only choice we have in life is how we respond. And the Stoic philosophy seeks to learn how to respond to adversity with virtue. Epicurean philosophy believes that the key to peace of mind is pleasure. But they define pleasure as the absence of pain, pleasure in moderation. Cynicism literally comes from the Greek word kuon, which means the dog. It is the philosophy of the dog begun by Diogenes of Sinope. The belief that only dogs truly understand how to live, and so we should copy their example. Dogs don't have government. Dogs don't care about fashion. Dogs don't care about laws. Dogs don't care about human customs. What dogs care about is enjoying themselves, rolling in whatever they want to roll in, seeking after food, enjoying companionship, and that's what we ought to do too. Probably the most potent philosophy of the day was the philosophy of Plato, Platonism. And Platonism is a very, very widespread and very difficult to talk about in a short period of time. But essentially, Platonism is a dualistic philosophy, a belief that the world in which we live is a world of shadows, and the real world is out there, the realm of forms, the realm of ideals. In the realm of forms and the realm of ideals is where God lives. That is where truth is, and justice and beauty. And what we seek in this life is to understand those things and live according to those things as much as we can discern them through the shadows. That is Platonism. Platonism became very important in early Christianity. It also became important in Judaism because it was a philosophy that many viewed quite compatible with a lot of Christian and Jewish ideas. One man who captured this idea very strongly was Philo Judaeus, a bit older contemporary of Jesus, who lived in Alexandria. And Philo believed that he could reconcile the teachings of Plato and the teachings of the Old Testament, and he works on this on several volumes, and it's quite extraordinary work. As you might imagine, in a world with lots of mixed philosophical and religious ideas running around, many people will not be purists. Many people will take elements of different religious traditions and lump them together. We call this lumping together syncretism. Finally, a word about Roman governmental attitude toward religion. By and large, the Romans were very tolerant. When you think of it, polytheism can be tolerant by its nature simply because there's always room for one more god. The Romans were also big into tradition. So if a religious tradition was old, it was dignified, it has stood the test of time, and the Romans believed it should be respected. So for example, when the Romans conquered the land of the Hebrews and they learned about Jewish religion, they might have thought that whole Jewish religion thing was a bit odd, but it was old and therefore it was respectable and therefore it was legal. And the Romans called these old religious traditions religio licita, legal religion. On the other hand, new religion is not respectable. New religion is to be avoided. You cannot make up your own religion in the Roman Empire. as you can in my country. So the result is that is religio illicita. This distinction is going to be super important in early Christianity because to the extent that Christianity is viewed as an offshoot of Judaism, it's old, it is venerable, it is respectable, it is religio licita, legal, tolerated. But at any time, if Christianity is viewed as different from Judaism or opposed to Judaism, then it is exposed as a new religion that would be illegal and that would bring Roman authorities down on early Christians, and that could cause no end of problems, and indeed will in time. But in early Christianity, as we will see, for the most part, Christianity is considered a branch of Judaism and therefore old, venerable, religio licita.